All right, then. So now let's start discussing about the OOPS concepts. So let's talk about the OOPS concepts. Basically, OOPS in the sense it's like object-oriented programming concepts. Object-oriented programming concepts, right? So in that first what we are going to do is we are going to discuss about the certain OOPS concepts over here. The most important things is like inheritance. Like let me inheritance, polymorphism, and abstract class and interfaces. And we need to discuss about the exception handling, and we need to discuss about the concepts called file handling. And in the polymorphisms, we need to, along with the polymorphisms, we need to discuss about the method overloading and overriding, right? These are the concepts that we have to discuss yet. All right, so let's talk about the inheritance first. So that's the most important thing that we need to know. So basically, inheritance is a fundamental concept in object oriented programming, like where a class, which is known as a child or a derived class, inherits all the properties and the behaviors from another class, which is conservatively known as a parent or a base class. Basically, what we are trying to do is we are trying to the child, which means the derived class, the child, it's trying to inherit all the properties of a parent class, right? That's the concept called inheritance, sharing the properties from one class to another. The property who is yeah, that's the thing, the sharing a property from one class to another is called inheritance. So think about it, that you have a parent and you have a child. A child has the privilege to inherit all the properties of its parent, right? It's trying to pull all the properties and behaviors of the parent into the child through its object. That is called inheritance, right? So to be keep it as simple, child inherits all the properties and its behavior of the parent, not its behavior, and behavior of the parent class. In this case, child in the sense that is the derived class, and the parent in the sense that is the base class. Derived and base class. Derived class deriving the properties from the base class, that is called inheritance. So basically it's an SA relationship. That means a one-way relationship, which means I can access whatever the properties which is inside the base class through the derived class, but the base class doesn't have the privileges to access anything inside the derived class, right? That's the SA relationship. It's a one-way relationship. The key points that you need to keep it in mind: parent class, which means that's a super class or a base class. This class whose properties and behaviors are inherited by another class. It serves as a template or a blueprint for the child classes. Parent class can have their own properties, methods, and constructors. There is no change in that. Child, on the other hand, child class is a subclass, or you can even say it's a derived class. The class that inherits the properties and the behaviors from the parent class, it is the derived class. So it can also be it can also have some additional properties and methods to be specific on itself, right? So let's talk about the syntax here. So how it is working on. So let's see. I do have a class called parent. Think about it, that you are, and you have all the code blocks inside in it. Sorry. Then I do have the class child, so which is going to extends the parent class. All right, and we have all the child class members inside in it. This is how you need to use the extends keyword to inherit the properties. So this is the syntax of the inheritance. All right, so I hope you understand, and I hope you grab the point what is inheritance is, right? So now let's talk about the with a simple example how the inheritance will work over here, and we need to talk about the types. All right, so let's talk about the types, then we move on to the examples. So when it comes to types, so basically the inheritance is categorized into a several number of types based on how the class inherits the properties and behaviors from each other. The common types of the inheritance are single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, and multiple inheritance. Oops, multiple inheritance and hybrid inheritance, hierarchical. What's the spelling? I R A or C H hierarchical inheritance. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong, but these are the different types of the inheritance, right? So let's talk about the single inheritance. A single inheritance is like a subclass. A child class inherits from only one superclass, which is nothing but a parent class. So child class inherits from only one parent class, that is the single inheritance. On the other hand, for the example, let's talk about that you're having a class called animal. Animal is the parent class. Okay, so let's mark it as a parent class. Okay, then I do have another class called dog, that is the child, one of the child, so child class. So basically the child class is going to inherit the properties from the animal, so which is going to extend the property of the animal, right? So this is the only one child class which extends the parent class, so that is the single inheritance. So now let's talk about the multi-level. On the other hand, the multi-level inheritance is nothing but a child class inherits from a superclass and another subclass inherits from the first subclass, like a chain reaction. That's a multiple class. That's the multi-level, right? So for instance, let's say that you're having what to say, we have an animal, it's a main group. Under that animal we have the dog, that's the second main group. Under the dog we have one breed called Labrador, that's one type of a dog, right? So animal, it's a parent, and the dog is a child of the animal, and the Labrador is a child of the dog, something like that. So animal, it's dog, and from the dog we have one more, it's called Labrador, right? That's the thing. So in order to make it clear, so class animal, open it, then class dog extends animal, then class Labrador extends dog. This is the multi-level, right? So a subclass, a child class inherits from the parent, and another subclass inherits from the first subclass, that is the multi-level, right? Then let's talk about the hybrid. So in this, the hybrid is like sorry, not hybrid, let's talk about the multiple. Okay, so in a multiple inheritance, a subclass inherits from multiple subclasses. That's the thing, a subclass inherits from the multiple subclasses. On the other hand, the hybrid inheritance is the combination of the two or more types of inheritance. That's the hybrid. It can be anything, right? You can combine multiple and multi-level, or you can combine single and multi-level. That's the thing. Hybrid is nothing but is a combination of two or more types of inheritance, right? And the last and final one is the hierarchical. Hierarchical is nothing but multiple subclasses inherit from single parent classes. That's the hierarchical. Multiple subclasses from what? From single parent class, right? That's the hierarchical. All right. So fine. Now let's write a simple coding. So how exactly it's going to work in a real case scenarios over here. So in this case, I'm just going to create a new file called shape management.java. All right. So here I'm gonna have one class called shape. Open it, and it's going to have protected property called string color. The reason why we are using the protected specifier, as you know, we have three different access specifiers like public, private, and protected. Public, which means open for anything; private, which is accessible only for that specific classes; and protected, which means it is similar to private, but it is accessible for only the classes which has the permissions to access those member variables and functions, right? So I can narrow the specifications. It is not accessible for everyone, but it is accessible for very specific classes. Okay, that's the thing. Just like that, protected. Then I'm going to create a constructor called public shape, which is going to take a parameter called string color, color. Let's keep the same name, and I'm going to assign it to our class variable. Whatever the color I'm creating, by the time when I'm creating an object, that needs to assign to this. And I'm going to create one more function called public void draw method. Draw, open it, then system dot out dot println. This is going to drawing a whatever the color it's going to drawing color and shape with that it's going to draw a shape with that specific color, something like that, kind of that. All right, so now we know that this is the parent class, right? Then I'm going to create one more subclass like the circle, rectangle, whatever which is going to come, it's going to be the subclasses. So let's create class circle, extends the property of shape, whatever which is comes inside, I'm going to extend it. Now you can see we have the property called this color in the shape. So I can use the color property inside the circle. So I can create a circle shape, along with it I can define the color also. So whatever the properties which is going to be common, I can keep it in the parent classes, right? So here I'm going to create private double, and I'm going to define the radius. Okay, so class circle, what is it? Okay, so now what exactly we are getting an error is, see here. So we need to fix this issue. So basically what happens when I try to create an object for circle, what happens, circle constructor will be automatically called, but circle extends the shape, right? So I need to call this constructor also, because the parent class also having a constructor. By the time whenever I'm calling this circle, when I'm creating an instance for the circle, the constructor for the circle class only invoked automatically, not the parent class constructor. If I don't have this over here, if I don't have this over there, I don't have the issue. But if the parent class also having a constructor, what I need to do, I need to manually call the parent class constructor, then only it will be initialized. So in order to do that, what I need to do is, over here, I'm just going to say public circle. I'm going to create a constructor and I'm going to get the color. So this color needs to be passed to our super class because that is our parent class. Then I need to receive the radius from the user for the circle. Okay. So now first I need to pass the color to our. So in order to do that, I'm going to use the super keyword. Then I'm going to pass the color to our parent. Super is a function. Basically, super is a function which helps you to pass the values to your parent class constructor. That's the thing, right? Basically, you're manually calling your parent class constructor over here, right? Then I'm going to assign that value radius is equals to radius, right? So now you can see we don't have any issues with the circle over here. So unless if you're not having this constructor in your parent class, you are totally fine. But if you're having a constructor inside your parent class, and that situation, you need to use the super method to pass the to call the parent class constructor manually. Then over here, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say public double area. It's a function, area is a function, and it's going to return math, which is coming from java.lang. Okay, math.py into radius semicolon. That's how you need to get the pi value, right? So save these changes. Now what I need to do is I'm going to call public static void main string args arguments, open it here. Then I'm going to create a object for circle is equals to new circle. So first I need to pass the value for the superclass, which is the color. I'm going to create it as a color, which is going to be a string. Then I need to pass the radius as 1.2 or something, semicolon, right? Now I do have the C1 object over here. So here I can say system.out.println double quotes. Okay, so first what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the circle radius. So circle area colon plus C1 dot area. Okay, now I can access. Then along after that, I'm going to say get the circle color also, circle color, which is going to be from C1 dot color. I can access the color. Then after that, I need to call this method, right? C1 dot draw method, which is going to be drawing the shape which specific color, right? We are getting the area and we are passing the color as well as, and we are calling this function, basically this function which is coming from where, from the shape, but how we are accessing it, we are accessing it by using the circle object, which is the child class, right? This is how you can use the different classes and join them together, and you can work with the multiple classes. So that helps you to manage the each and every section separately, right? So let me run this. Let me compile. So let me delete this, and here let's say shape management.java. I hope there is no mistakes. Yes, there is no mistakes. And here let me clear this, and let's say Java shape management, enter. Now we can see circle area is 4.523 and circle color is red, and we are drawing a red shape, something like that. Cool, right? So this is how you need to work with the inheritance, and this is all about the inheritance. So the types is nothing matter, the way how you are connecting the classes is all matters, right? We are using the extends keywords to join the classes together, and we are sharing the properties. And if your parent class having a constructor, and if your child class also having a constructor, so you need to understand how we are using the super function to call the parent class constructor manually. If you don't have the constructor, that's fine, that's totally fine, and that's not an issue. But if you're having a constructor in each and every class separately, at that point you need to use the super function, right? You need to use the super function. There is no other way for us. So this is all about the inheritance.